Hey everyone. So we're approaching the end of the year, and I figured we could have another look at my little vinyl collection at the rest of the albums I've bought this year. There are a couple that I was really excited about to get. Some of them I was waiting for quite a while. Some I didn't actually think would be released on vinyl. So yeah, let's have a look through them. The first one here was one of my highlights this year. This is from a band called Villages of Ioannina City. And I actually first heard them this year and really liked what I heard. And I think that's generally the nicest surprise that you can have when you realize that a new band you've just learned about is coming to your city to play a gig. It was one of those gigs that have been postponed and postponed, but this year it did happen. It was in a teeny tiny venue. I think it might have been sold out because it was completely cramped. There were so many people. It was incredibly hot. Sound wasn't great either, frankly, but I had the time of my life. I was so happy there. And I also bought one of their vinyls, and I got an autograph as well from the singer here, 2022. That was in May, I think. And basically, I don't know if you know this band, I don't think they're that well known. They're playing something like psychedelic rock, stoner rock. Can maybe tell from the artwork. And they often have a lot of sort of traditional Greek influence. They are from Greece. It's more pronounced on their previous albums, but they do use a doodlesack on this one as well, bagpipes, which is a traditional instrument in that region of Europe. I think maybe not too well known. There we have it, bagpipes. So, really cool band, great concert. They are touring right now as well. I was kind of hoping to catch them a second time, but it wasn't possible, unfortunately. But I'll keep an eye out, and I'd definitely love to see them again. I think this is generally a really beautiful cover as well. It really fits their style. Then I went to a thrift store because I was looking for some books or maps, and I instead found this here. They generally only had mostly classical music when it comes to vinyls, or some more traditional things. And this is quite funny. This is Ivan Rebrov. So see here again in Latin letters, Ivan Rebrov singt Volksweisen aus dem alten Russland. Es spielt das Balalaika-Ensemble Troika. So here he is, Ivan Rebrov, with his fur hat and fur coat. And I don't think he's that well known these days. If you ask younger people in Austria, they probably don't know him anymore. but he was often on TV in like probably 70s, 80s. Let's see if we have a year here. It doesn't look like it. So it was often on TV. And this is here, made in Germany. You can see the text is in German by Fritz Redlaff. Genau, auf das Note. Diese Schallplatte kann mit jedem modernen Leichttonabnehmer abgespielt werden. This long play record should be played only with a modern light pickup. Anyway, what I meant to say is I always thought that Ivan Rebrov was from Russia and, I don't know, had at some point maybe moved to Germany or lived in Germany and was singing, in German. But turns out he actually was German. He just had kind of voice that made people think he should sing some Russian songs and it would work really well. He's quite a large man with a sort of this impressive appearance, especially with that big coat. So, yeah, I didn't know that either. I was quite surprised when I found out that his name isn't Ivan Rebrov either. He just has, a normal German name. But I think that was quite common at the time to sort of play a different nationalities. Probably seemed to be a little more controversial these days. There's another one here, again beim Klang der Balalaika. Then here we have Bob Dylan, Donovan, another Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Songs from a Room. I'd love to have one of these. And pretty much any Leonard Cohen record, honestly. What else do we have? Some flamenco here. The Chambers Brothers, Love, Peace and Happiness. Tango. Pacific Gas and Electric. I have to admit I don't know too many of these. Blood, Sweat and Tears, Simon and Garfunkel, Miles Davis, Barbra Streisand, Thelonious Monk and Johnny Cash. If there's a bit of a funny sound in the background, it's the kitty. She's in her hammock on the heater, doing some cleaning. She was sleeping all day and then woke up when we started recording. I tried locking her in the kitchen, but that made her a bit unhappy, as it goes with cats. Alright, here's another one that's a bit older. You can tell there are some signs of wear here. The colors come off a bit. There was a little sticker here in this corner. But this is one of my favorite albums I've bought this year. This is incredibly gorgeous, and if you like folk music, I very much recommend that you check this out. If you're from Norway, you probably know it. This is Agnes Bohen Garnos. And she won quite an important prize for her work, I think actually for this particular album. The arrangement is by Jan Garbarek, who you might know. The name wasn't familiar to me, but I played just to a friend and he said, oh, of course, Jan Gabarek, I know him. It's called Rosensfole, and these are medieval songs from Norway. I tried to find out whether they really are medieval, because I think sometimes medieval is a label that is, that sells well. I don't really know. But you can see some of them are quite long, like this one here. 16 minutes, and apparently that's the short version. The poem that's being sung here is a lot longer. And here you see it's a digital recording from autumn 1988. There's some information here about each of the songs, what they are about. And you can see this one here, for example, was collected in the 19th century. And that's why I was wondering if these actually are medieval songs, because a lot of what we think of as medieval in Austria and Germany, like fairy tales, for example, were often collected much later. And it's difficult to figure out when exactly they are from. But either way, that's a small detail. And the music's really wonderful. She has an incredible voice. So I very much recommend listening to this if you like traditional music. I couldn't find this one in Vienna, so I ordered it, and the shipping costs were relatively high, but they stayed the same for two. So I figured I'd just take a second album with it. One that was on sale, which was Suzanne Vega, Solitude Standing. I think I paid only €5 for this one. It features the singles Luca and Tom Steiner. And I mostly got this because it makes me feel a little sentimental. When I was a kid, these two songs were often on the radio. And when we learned the present continuous tense in school, our teacher played Tom Steiner to us because it uses that tense quite a lot. And again, I think you can tell that she was quite successful. It says here, English lyrics included, mit deutschen Texten, Text français, in Spanish, and also in an Italian translation. There's a picture of her. So quite like calypso. I don't know, I think she has a nice voice, and I'm just get a bit sentimental with this one. Sometimes you just like listening to old music, right? Okay, and then this one is fantastic as well. This is an album that came out last year, no, 2 years ago. Kind of mixing up my years here recently. It came out in spring of 2020, and you could pre-order the vinyl the whole time. Every time I checked, it said available for pre-order, but never said when it would ship. And when I saw that it was actually available this year, I was so excited. I got it immediately. This is Myrkur, who's a singer from Denmark who normally plays black metal. But as you can imagine, an album that's called Folkesange is probably not black metal. Especially with such an almost kitschy cover. We're here in the mountains. There's a waterfall in the background with a beautiful lake. You have all these dots of colors here, from yellow and pink flowers. And this girl with some blush on her cheeks in a traditional outfit, knitting something in red. There's some butterflies here on the side. So, in short, a very harmonious picture and quite a harmonious album. Some of these I think were written by her, like Ella, and others, like Vaga Sommernos, are traditional songs. There's also one in English, House Carpenter. And I think they're really gorgeous. She has a beautiful voice. Winter's one for this season. So, some information here. For example, Maria Franz here also did some additional vocals on Ella. If you like medieval inspired music, you probably know her. She plays in Halo, who I see quite often in my recommended lists. And then I bought 3 in a row because they were on offer. There's another Nick Cave album, incidentally from the same period as the one I showed you last time. This is Push the Sky Away, and came out almost 10 years ago, 2013, can you believe it? I generally really like Nick Cave, but this might be one of my favorite albums. I caught him at a festival and went to see him without really expecting anything in particular. I knew I liked him, but I hadn't heard this album. And it was so beautiful. It was just a really great gig, you know, where you walk away feeling a little enchanted. And I think I played this for the remainder of the year. So I'm really happy to have an actual copy now. It just has a gorgeous voice and so many wonderful melodies on here. But I probably don't need to tell you about Nick Cave. Then there's Fleetwood Mac, so something a little older. Fleetwood Mac is one of those bands that were not on the radio when I was a kid. I've mentioned this before. We only had 3 radio stations, and the one pop station we had only played music from the 80s and 90s. And I think some Fleetwood Mac albums are probably from the early 80s, but I don't have any memory that they were ever on. I first heard them when I started watching a lot of music television, and they came up in these adverts that you had at the time, to buy some music collections, these kind of boxes, best of the 70s, these kind of things. I didn't really listen to them back then either. I kind of really only discovered Fleetwood Mac when Stevie Nicks was on American Horror Show. It's a funny cover, don't you think? With her ballet shoes. That little footstool here. So quite dramatic. And I love their outfits and their expressions. Dreams is a beautiful song. And then a bit of a different mood. This is some early Depeche Mode. Songs of faith and devotion. I like Depeche Mode a lot. You might remember that they played one of their live concerts in the open air cinema this year in Vienna. I wrote about that and how happy I was to be able to catch that. This one's from 1993. I think these songs are all very well known. Walking in My Shoes, In Your Room, A Higher Love, Mercy in You. It's a classic. I feel like this one was definitely needed in my collection. So my favorite one of their albums is probably Austria. I listened to that quite often when it came out. So I guess you just form like a special attachment to an album. This one came out a bit too early for me to hear it when it came out. Right, and then there's one more album that has made me particularly happy. I probably haven't seen this one. This is by another Greek musician, Sakis Tolis. And one I didn't expect to see on vinyl. This was self-published earlier this year and only came out on vinyl, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. I ordered it immediately. It's called Among the Fires of Hell. And Sakis Tolis is quite a well-known musician in the sort of metal scene in Greece. He's the frontman of a band called Rotten Christ. And I know it's a bit of a name, but they've been playing under that name for, a long time, since the 90s. And I think it might just be one of the names that you pick as a band when you start off. You're trying to pick a name that's a bit controversial, that's really metal, and you get older and maybe you're stuck with it, I don't know. They did have some issues with the name, with not being able to play in certain locations, but I think they've become a lot more mellow when it comes to religion, and they often include old myths from different parts of the world in their lyrics. So I've actually learned a couple of things from them as well. Like I said, this is a solo album, and it also includes an autograph. Extra happy about that. And a poster. And I don't usually do that, but this is a case where I got one of these colourful vinyls. I usually feel like black is fine, but it wasn't that much more expensive. Frankly, I would have been willing to pay a lot more because I really wanted to have it. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. And the lovely thing about it is that it kind of sounds a bit like sort of late 90s Rotten Christ, which is probably not what you think of when you think black metal. It's much more melodic. It has a much warmer sound than sort of northern black metal. And there's also a callback here in the name, Sleep of the Angels, which was the name of an earlier Rotten Christ album. And the lyrics are really lovely too. You would think this is all about like hell and gore. But there's here, for example, believe in you because your voice is important. Believe in you because your dreams matter. Believe in you because there's only one you. Or over here. To be a star, you must shine your own light. Follow your path and do not worry about the darkness, for that is where the stars shine brightest. Always do what you're afraid to do. Always do what you are scared to do, and remember, every man and every woman is a star. So, very uplifting lyrics here from Sakis Tolis. Really, really love that. And I think I can happily conclude my vinyl collection for this year with this album. My sort of goal is to buy one album per month. Usually I buy like 3 and then I don't buy one for a while. But if I counted correctly, I bought 13 this year, so not too far off. I think that's all right. Okay, so that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this and the kitty didn't make too many odd noises in the background. I will see you again next week, and until then, maybe you want to tell me your favorite albums of this year in the comments. I am really curious to find some new music. Or maybe you just want to go to sleep. That's alright too. In which case, good night and see you soon.